it's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am coming to you on this Wednesday, December 5th, 2018, with my next update. Can you believe it? It's a Wednesday, and it hasn't been like a month since my last video. This is like week three in a row. It's unheard of. Anyway, I'm going to keep looking outside because it's snowing. It's sticking to the trees, it's not sticking to the roads, so it's not, the roads aren't cold enough for that, it's not sticking to the ground, but it's snowing, and I am, like, insanely excited about this. Like, maybe a little too excited, but nonetheless. Anyway, so yeah, we are here for an update, and this one's gonna be, I don't think it's going to be too long. Certainly not to the level of the last couple. So I have more projects to show you than, unless you follow me on Instagram, you're going to be surprised by what I'm working on. And then I have some haul, some updates to my plans. But first things first, let's get into some announcements and Q&A. Okay, so the only real, like, kind of announcement, kind of Q&A thing that I have is an update on my maiden name challenge. A couple weeks ago, Angie, the Hibernation Stitcher, and then last week, Solar Stitches both were like, hey, do you have an update for that? And I do, sort of. So a couple months ago, just to sort of recap, just in case you've never heard of this, I posted my maiden name and posed the challenge. If FlossTubers would like, give it a try. See if you can pronounce it correctly. It's been butchered my whole life. And so just as sort of like a little challenge. And I even said that if only one person got it right, that I was going to give them a prize of some sort. In fact, at this point, I have seen/heard 4 people say it right. 4! I'm telling you that for the first 28 years of my life, I don't think that I could name 4 people who got my last name right on the first try. My first 28 years of life. So that's pretty magical. But yeah, 4 people have said it or gotten it right. But I'm not going to tell you who that was, nor am I going to pronounce it here today. And the reason for that is that Kyle, Stitching and Sound Kyle, is the one who sort of started this pronunciation challenge thing. And he's sort of laid claim to the fact that he's going to try to pronounce it until he gets it right. And so I'm not going to give him any extra hints, and I'm not going to spoil it or anything like that. So Kyle, I don't know if you forgot about the challenge, but still waiting for you to get it right. So yeah, that is the update on that for now. And if anybody else wants to try, give it a try. And link your video down below so I can watch and see if you got it right. I'm not telling anybody if they got it right, with one exception. So yeah, there's that. And that is all I think that I have for announcements and things. So let's just go ahead and jump right in, and we are going to start talking about whips. The last time we spoke, I was working on my Opus 2 by Long Dog Samplers, aka Maggie. And I was working up in this motif here, and I told you that I was going to plan on working on this through the end of November. And so I did. I worked on it through November 30th. And I did not get as much progress, admittedly, as I would have liked for those additional couple of days. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. So yeah, this is on 32 count linen in Oyster from MCG Textiles. And I'm stitching it using DMC 924. And here is where I'm at now. So you can see that I did not get that motif finished. And that's kind of a bummer. But to be totally honest, when I pulled this out on Friday, I was so ready to be done. Like, I was ready to put this down on Friday. Um, I talked about the fact that maybe I was considering working on this until it was done. But the reality of the situation is that this linen drives me crazy. I just don't enjoy stitching on it. And so I can handle it for a little while, and then I've just gotta call it quits. So I worked on it for a few days, and I made some pretty good progress. I mean, I finished page 3, and actually the top row of pages are all done at this point, except for the final 2 digits in the year. There's also a single stitch border that goes all the way around the edge that I have yet to decide if I'm going to do it, because I don't care too much for those. To be honest, I'm leaning towards not doing it at all, because my intention is to mat it pretty close to the edge of the stitching, and so I just don't think that a single stitch border is necessary for that. So I think I might skip it. And yeah, so this will get finished next year. I might have to work on it in bits and pieces, because like I said, I get tired of the linen. It's not that it's like the most horrible thing I've ever worked on. It's just that the inconsistencies with it start to drive me crazy. It's really strange. It's a 32 count for certain, but it's woven tightly in a way that I don't even know how to explain that. But like, my needle doesn't quite go through it as nicely as it does on a Belfast linen. So anyway, I did enjoy working on it, and yeah, next year. Unless you follow me on Instagram, everything else from here on out is gonna be pretty much like a total shock, because I have gone off the deep end, maybe a little bit. So here's sort of what spurred this on. I've shown you guys this before. This is my whip tracker. I print one of these out every single month, and I update it on the last day of every month. So I was working on Opus 2, I was getting frustrated, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a break, and I'm gonna do my whip tracker, get it ready for December, since this was Friday, November 30th. And so I put it together, and I've sort of explained this. A few times, but just in case you've never seen this before, so we have the days of the month numbered out here, and then when I work on a project, I color it in. Okay, so that's pretty simple. These ones that are on a darker background, those were Year of Whips for this year. I just wanted to make sure that I was keeping an eye on those specifically, that they stood out a little bit. Next column here is the last day that I worked on it. If it's in green, I worked on it this year. If it is just a yellow background with black text, then it has been, I haven't worked on it yet this year, but it's been less than a year since I worked on it last. So for instance, if there was a project and the last time that I worked on it was December 6th, 2017, then that would be yellow with black text. Coincidentally enough, not a single one of these are like that anymore. Yellow background with red text means that it's been over a year since I worked on this. Okay, so let me see here. Alice in a Dollar Dream, the last time I worked on it was May 10th, 2017. So it's been over a year since I've done that. Not a single one of these are yellow background with black text. And then I was looking at the dates. It wasn't a goal this year to touch every single one of my projects. However, the day that I was editing this, November 30th, purely by happenstance, there were 32 projects that I hadn't yet worked on in 2018. And as of November 30th, there were exactly 32 days left of the year. 31 days of December and 1 day left in November, because it was still November 30th. And I'm a numbers girl. And yeah, that just lined up way too pretty for me. So I posted Instagram stories and I asked a poll. And within the first hour, it was like 87% yes, go for this. You should do this. You should try to work on every single project before the end of the year. And I was on the fence about it. Danny was like, don't do this because you don't like switching so often. He's right. But the idea of turning all of these green before 2019, pretty attractive to me. On top of that, I talked to you guys ad nauseum about my 2019 plans last week. And a lot of these that I'm going to work on here, because I've decided to do this, won't get touched next year. They're not in my whips for next year. So really and truly, that is like prime motivation for me. I'm going to work on them, and then it will be a year until I get to them next, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But it won't be 2 years since I worked on it. So Bluebeard's Princess Marabella, I haven't worked on it since March 5th, 2017. That might not get worked on until 2020. That's a really long time to have gone without work on this piece. And that doesn't sit quite well with me. So long story short, I've decided to do this. And I am letting tiny decisions pick my whip for me. So Danny tells me every day how many times to hit the button, because I don't hit it just once. I'm making this extra super Jessified. I'm just messing everything up about it. So every day I pull up a new project to work on. So it's totally random. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And I'm going to try to work on them all before the end of the year. Today is day 6. I'm already behind. But I'll talk about that here in a minute. And it worked out nicely because I was so over Opus 2 at this point that I was ready to switch. And it almost didn't matter what came up next. So what came up, my very first spin for 32 before 2019, that's the hashtag I'm using, was my Game of Thrones house banners. And I do love this. Now, I've gotten in the habit of doing my before and after pictures. I'm not going to do that for these projects because I'm going to be showing a lot of projects over the next month. And so just to sort of simplify things, I'm just going to tell you what I accomplish. It's not much because it's usually not a whole day's worth of effort. It's usually a couple hours. For some of these, it's just an hour. So I'm just going to point out what I do for each of them and hope that works. So this is on a 28 count cashel linen in ale by Picture This Plus. And so here's where I got to. Let me fix this here. There we go. Okay, so beforehand I had the Stark House banner done, the Winterfell banner, and then next I started on the Vale of Arryn. And all I can hear is little Aaron saying, I want to see him fly. Creepy little boy. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I got done. And I was apprehensive about working on this because these banners, it's just a long stretch of just one color. But I forgot that I've got the castles to do for all of them still. So it was just fine. So there's that. Of my 32, I had all of one that I was dreading. And on Saturday, December the 1st, that one came up. Of course. But it's fine because I got it out of the way and now I can just kind of enjoy myself. I'm not dreading it coming up anymore. And so that project was the Fantasy Sal by Lakeside Needlecraft and Jerian Jones. And I've had this conversation with a couple of people about this project. A lot of us were really so excited about it when it first got started, 2016, and just have completely fallen out of love with it to the point of like, I know that I'm not the only one who feels this, like, wish I didn't do it until I saw it. It's not that I hate it. It's not that I hate everything about it. It's just that it's so packed in. It's so packed in. There's so many things. This is not showing the motifs in here or the elaborate border around the outside. It's packed in. It's a busy design, and it's cute, and it's really adorable. It's just, I just wish that I had done my research a little bit before I jumped on the bandwagon with this one. I'm too far along now to give up, to stop, to put it in the give up pile. Like, I'm too far along for that. I have just this block to go and then a lot of border. So I was dreading it because I'm just not excited about this project as I once was. And here's your proof. I haven't worked on it since June 2017. So there you have it. And that was for Wine and Whips, by the way. So I worked on it, and what I found was that it wasn't as horrendous as I was maybe making it up to be in my head. It probably has something to do with the fact that I only worked on it in a very small segment. And so that sort of eased the pain a little bit. I'm making this so much more dramatic than it needs to be. Anyway, so this is on 32 count Belfast in Heroic by Picture This Plus. And here is the whole piece. And I decided to focus my efforts for this one day on border page 2. And so I had the white done around the star here. And so pretty much the blue from this edge to over here is what I accomplished. And you can even see some of the purple came even further. So I made a little bit of progress. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't near what I thought I was going to get. But it's progress. So Danny, on this particular day, went over to his brother's house. They were playing board games, and they watched Tech's final football game of the year. Basically, to remain bowl eligible, we had to play another game. And we did, and we won. Woohoo! Go Hokies! So he was over there watching the game, and I was supposed to have a stitchy day. And what ended up happening is I had a baking day with a little bit of stitching. So I was making cookies. I think I talked to you guys about it last time for the stitching meetup on Sunday. And the recipe that I decided to go with was more labor and time intensive than I think I had bargained for. So I spent literally like most of the afternoon doing that. On top of that, I was doing other food prep. So not near as much stitching time as I would have liked, which is, it's whatever. Not a big deal. But it helped in the fact that I don't hate this. And I knew that going into it, but this is one of my whips for next year, and I'm not broken up about it. So there we have it. And I think that my goal for this piece for next year is the finish. I might amend that though. I might amend it to like just the top 3 pages, or just, I don't know, not quite a finish yet. Because I don't want to overwhelm myself with this piece that I'm not super in love with anymore. Sunday, I was supposed to go to the DC area Metro Stitchers meetup in Northern Virginia. And I say supposed to, so now you know I didn't. And the reason for that is, it is what it is. My dog, Mr. Thor, I'll show you if he shows up. But he ended up with this big old bump kind of in between his toes. And at first I was like, he stepped on a stick. It's not a big deal. He stepped on something while he was outside, and it's irritated, and it just got a little puffy. by Saturday afternoon, it had doubled in size, and it was not it was not it was not. So I talked to my mom, who runs the vet, and basically what it boils down to is she thought that maybe it was this thing, and so we had to keep an eye on him as vigilantly as we could possibly to prevent him from licking it and making it worse. Of course, it's on his front foot, so he's just going to lick the heck out of it if it's bugging him. So I didn't end up going to the meetup because I just had to keep an eye on him. I couldn't leave Danny to do that all day long. Like, he's my kid too, so I have to, I got to keep an eye on him. And then we were supposed to go to the vet on Monday. Well, we got up Monday, and I'll just go into this little Thor thing here for a second, just so you guys aren't worried. It shrunk Monday morning. Like, by Monday morning, it had shrunk big time. On top of that, we hadn't noticed any change in his behavior. He was still eating like a bulldog. He was still sleeping like a bulldog. He was still having bathroom breaks. Like, everything was normal, and he wasn't licking it. Like, we barely had to stop him from doing it. So it wasn't a big deal, on top of getting up on Monday and it being smaller. And then yesterday we got up and it was even smaller. And this morning, it's the smallest I've seen it since we first noticed something being a little weird. So we call him Chubby Foot. We were calling him Fat Foot, but he's been reduced to Chubby Foot. And all is well. So, and we always, if things get worse again, then we'll just take him to the vet. It's not a big deal. Okay, all of that to say, I didn't go to the stitching meetup on Sunday. And so I drew my next project for 32 before 19, and that pulled Not Quite White Work by Northern Expressions Needlework. And this is a gargantuan piece. It's on 36 count cream ivory Edinburgh linen, and this I call all of the Aussie Gold. If you are looking for a skein of Dinky Dye's Aussie Gold, I'm sorry, but I have it all, because I meant to bring it and I didn't, but I've got like 10 skeins of Aussie Gold that are going to go into this. I also call this What Was I Thinking? I was going to try to keep up with this, Sal. Yeah, no. This started in 2015. This is release 2 that I'm working on. Yeah, there was no way. No, it wasn't even. Yes, it was. It was release 2. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And so what I worked on, what all I could work on in the time that I gave myself to work on this was the double herringbone border. That just kind of covers this whole thing. So let me see if I can bring it in real close so that you can kind of see that. It kind of looks like braided gold. So yeah, it's a double herringbone, and it's pretty, but it's not my favorite thing ever. I've been talking with Tracy P about this because she saw mine and she was like, oh, I'm going to work on that. And where the horizontal meets the vertical, it's not pretty. Like, it's sudden. And I'm never sure. So because the joins aren't pretty, like, I have to be cognizant of the fact of, are my long stretches of double herringbone in the horizontal or the vertical? So I have to be conscious of that. The other thing I found, and I'm never going to be able to get it to show up on this camera or any other, is that double herringbone is a really interesting stitch because you can kind of do it in 2 ways. So you can do the first leg of double herringbone and then come back for the second leg, or for the second pass, so to speak. Or you can do 1 leg across and then 1 leg across in that same direction. And they look different, believe it or not. It's the weirdest thing, It has to do with, I think, the order in which the legs cross each other. And so, like I said, I'm never gonna be able to get it to show up on camera, but I have noticed a difference in them. So these long stretches, I have done one leg in that direction and then the other leg in that same direction. But these short segments for the blocks, I've done one pass and then back. And they look different. Barely noticeable different, but now I don't know which one is correct. I'm not sure which one is the right way to do it. So anyway, so I did a bunch of double herringbone in Aussie Gold, and I really enjoyed working on this, and I'm excited that this is a whip for next year. This is what I was talking about with the left column of blocks, and I will have inserted a picture of what the finished piece will look so you can see what I'm in for. Yeah, some cool stuff coming up. This has got all of the specialty stitches, a lot of them that I've never heard of, and I'm a big fan of Nicole's. So there is that. Okay, but it was Sunday, and Sundays are my days for new starts. I have decided that I'm also spinning my new starts. So I'm just getting in all the tiny decisions here at the end of the year. And it's spun my favorite. If I had to pick a favorite of these projects that I'm starting here at the end of the year, it's this one. I was so geeked to get it started, and it was the one thing that got me really into this. Christmas at Winterberry Cabin by Brenda Gervais. Sorry for the glare, I'm not taking it out of the plastic. And so I got started, and here's where I got to. So this is on 28 count cashel in Crystal Ale, so more 28 count ale, this time in the opalescent variety. You can even see some of the opalescence coming through the stitching. That's kind of annoying to me if I'm totally honest, but it's gonna have to do because there's not much I can do about it. I love him. I love him so much. I can't believe I just said I love something covered in Buckeye Scarlet so much, but there you have it. Whatever, it is what it is. So, the thread that I used was Buckeye Scarlet. Angie, you had mentioned possibly blending the two skeins that I have. I have the lighter skein and the darker skein, blending them for variegation. And as you can see, there's some pretty good variation in here. So I didn't need to do that. I thought about doing that actually because of my finite amount of it, and I wasn't sure how much this was going to take. It took all but one length, one 6-strand length, and then one 2-strand length to complete this coat on 28 count. So got it done, and let's see. So that is Gassed Buckeye Scarlet. The trim, which you can probably barely see, it's really low contrast there at the brim of his hat. His glove, and then the trim on the bottom. That is Classic Colorworks Brown Sugar. His skin, which I don't know, I might still rip out. Again, it's low contrast. His skin is in Weeks Dye Works Skinny Dip, and then his beard is in Weeks Dye Works White Lightning. And you can see his hand there. You probably can't even tell that that's separate from the beard. So I might have to change his skin. I don't know. I posted about this, and I received some sort of mixed ideas. So we'll see. See what I do. I may not rip it out. I mean, it's nested in there. It wouldn't be so bad to rip out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So I ended up working on this for a total of 3 days. I didn't stitch much on Monday, and for the life of me, I can't remember why. I can't remember why I didn't stitch much on Monday, but I didn't. And I got up on Tuesday and decided that I wanted to finish his coat before putting him down. I love this. I contemplated working on it until done, because really that is the hurdle of this design. Everything else is pretty small. I mean, there's just little bits of things. There's a vine and there's a sign and there's a snowman and a reindeer over here, but the star of the show, so to speak, is done. Anyway, so I'll get back to that eventually, either this year or next. Probably not till next, if I'm totally honest with myself. Okay, so that's the end of the weekend stitching, and some of you are going, hey Jess, you said something about Maidens of the Seasons too. Yep, you'd be right. I had intended on working on that this weekend because Saturday, December the 1st is the first day of summer in Australia. And so I was supposed to start summer on that piece on Saturday. As I just got done telling you, I was baking all day, and I wanted to make significant enough progress on Fantasy Sal, so I didn't really feel like splitting my very limited stitching time between two projects. It just wasn't about it. So I didn't pull out Maidens of the Season. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll pull it out on Sunday. I'll just be a day late. It'll be fine. And to be honest, working on 3 projects in a single day, that's hard for me. It's really hard. And so I was doing my 32 before 19, and I was doing my new start on Sunday. And so I just decided to hold off on Maidens of the Seasons. And I'm going to try to insert it into January to work on summer, to get summer started. Maybe in my bonus days there at the end, I'll try to fit that in. Because I just wasn't able to fit it into this weekend, and now that I'm behind on my 32 before 19, and I've got all of these things to do in December, and yeah, it's just, now's not a really good time. So I'll just hold off on that. It's okay. It's going to be summer in Australia for a good long while, so it'll be okay. Okay, so Monday, all I worked on was Christmas at Winterberry Cabin, and I didn't end up pulling my 32 before 19. So yesterday I got up and I was like, all right, today I'm gonna get caught up. So I finished up the coat, quick, fast, and in a hurry, and then I switched to what was supposed to be my Monday project for 32 before 19. And that was my Glory of Autumn by Dimensions. And again, I'm so excited that this is a whip for next year because I'm going to get some good work on it. My goal for the year is 1 page, and I have started on this page over here, so this is going to be my page. I don't think I'm going to backstitch it. I think I'm just going to try to get the stitching done and go from there. So this is on 28 count cashel linen in antique white Zweigart. I did not use the Kit Ada, and part of that is I don't care at all for the Ada that Dimensions puts in their kits. I also don't care for the margins that they give you. So I subbed out the fabric. And here's where I'm at. Now I decided that because I was trying to play catch up, that this project was only going to get an hour. Sorry, that was a mess. This project was only going to get an hour so that I could be sure to get to what was supposed to be my Tuesday project. So I didn't get as much progress on this as I maybe would have liked, but I did do the dark orange in this tree that kind of starts about here and comes all the way over. And that is all of that dark orange in this tree. So that was pretty good to just get a whole color in that tree done. And yeah, so progress was made. Not a ton, and certainly not much going on here having started this in 2015, but there you go. So that's all right. It's going to get some love next year. I'm not worried. Okay, so take that off the frame. I pull my next project. I get it loaded on the frame. And all of a sudden, my right eye, nothing. I could see nothing. It went completely black. And it scared the ever-loving everything out of me. Just vision, just gone. And so once I got my heart rate back down, I knew what it was. It was a migraine and aura. I've only gotten them this severely a few times in my life, but I knew that I had to take the strongest migraine meds I have and crawl into a dark hole and pray for the best, because these particular migraines are the hardest. They're the worst. And so I needed to address it as quickly as possible. And I have never been more grateful to be in the position that I am in my life, that I'm not at work, and that I can just go lay in a dark hole and hope that this thing doesn't reach maximum capacity. It didn't. Fortunately, it didn't, but it ended my stitching for the day. Like, that's it. We're done here. And so I didn't get to my Tuesday project yesterday. But that's all right. You know, if I don't get to my Tuesday project, but I also don't get the worst of what that migraine could have been, so be it. That's just fine. So there we have it. And so I pulled that out and worked on it. I guess it was already set up. And I worked on it this morning. So that project is Queen Anne's Lace by Nora Corbett. Preview here of what this will look like finished. This is from the April 2016 issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine. And I am working this on 28 count Kesha linen in a Crystal Wren. I almost said ale again. No, this is Crystal Wren. I was working on all the 28 count. So anyway, so here is where I'm at currently. And what I worked on this morning was skin. So that palest shade there in her head, face, and the back of her neck is what I accomplished this morning. And I think that I'm going to put in one more length of skin before I put this down. And go from there. And I may backstitch her face because her face looks really weird without backstitch. So that's what I got done this morning, and I will work on this again this afternoon. So that sort of takes us into plans a little bit. I'm spinning things, and so I don't know what I'm going to work on for the next week. However, what I'm going to do is spin with you guys here today to pull my 32 before 2019 project for today, Wednesday, December 5th. And so I'm going to pull up my Tiny Decisions wheel. And there we go. So I have been removing them after I pull them. So this is as random and accurate as possible. Okay? And I'm going to insert the spinning here so that you guys can see it. And we are going to hit go. Now I told you guys that Danny tells me how many times to hit the button, and he didn't tell me how many times I hit the button this time, so I just went with 5 because today's the 5th. Okay, and so it pulled Portrait of Veronica. How very exciting. Another Mira. This was a 2017 Mira start that I haven't worked on since Mania 2017. So that's exciting. I will work on that and see what I can get done here this evening. So that's fun. And I will just continue to spin my next whip as and when I need to. Now let's talk about the new starts. Kind of changing my new starts plan. I thought that I was going to start just absolutely everything that I wanted to, even if I had just a smidgen of want to start it. And what I found was that I was going to run out of time real quick. As I just sort of mentioned, I don't like working on so many things in the same day. And if I was to work on each of those new starts for 2 days a piece, I'm working on basically for now until the end of the year, 2 projects a day. It's the holidays. I don't have time for that. I've got a bunch of other things I've got to be doing. So on top of travel and visiting with family and such, like there's just no time for 2 projects every single day for the rest of the month. So I'm going to have 5 more new starts. My Sundays, so my high tea Sundays, I'm going to have 4 new starts. They're only going to get 1 day apiece. So that if there's any bleed over into Monday, then that's okay. It's not a big deal. And then I'm also starting Touching the Autumn Sky, like I talked to you guys about, on the 13th for Lorna, the Ladybird Stitcher's birthday. And I'm only going to work on it on the 13th. Because, again, just multiple projects in a day, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I like to see good amounts of progress if I've got stitching time, and this whole, like, working on something for just an hour so that I can be sure to get to all of the other... Not about it. It's not my thing. So, there's that. So I'm limiting my new starts to just a few things. Okay, so here's the list of the things that I will be starting, and I have yet to decide which ones are going to be when, but that's fine. So Touching the Autumn Sky, we know when that's happening. The Animal Piles by Plum Street Samplers, I think is going to become a quartet, because just yesterday Paulette released the Llama Lump. Oh my gosh, that's got to go on the list. That's going to go with my set. So I will have a set of 4. So there's those 2. What are the other ones? Forgive me, I have to get on my phone here and pull up my list because I can't remember what they were that I absolutely must start. One of them I'm going to show you here in a second that I just recently purchased. All right, let's see here. Oh, Emma, With My Needle, excuse me, by The Good Housewife. That's another guaranteed start. Okay, so there's 4. Oh, maybe I'm starting 6. Or maybe I'll cut that one. I'm not sure. Okay, so then there's A Songbird's Garden. I would just really like to start one of those. I'm feeling it. And then I ordered the first in my Animal Piles quartet, and along with it, because no chart should travel alone, I ordered a piece of fabric for Give Thanks by the Drawn Thread. So potentially starting that one. So it's either Give Thanks or A Songbird's Garden. I've yet to determine which one of those. So we'll see. It's probably going to end up being Give Thanks because I would really like the perfect fabric for Merry and Bright. And it feels like if I start Bluebirds of Happiness that I'm just putting in a start just for the sake of having a start. That's not really what I'm about. So I think it's going to be Give Thanks. Thanks, guys, for your help. So I'm going to be starting those on Sundays from here through the end of the year. So yeah, that's kind of the plans. And everything else is, we'll let the wheel decide. Okay, so let's switch over into haul and stash acquisitions. Last week, all of the haul was threads and a couple of digital patterns. This week, the haul is fabric and a digital pattern. So I'll do the pattern first. I have been contemplating the temperature projects. And to be totally honest, until now, I hadn't seen one that I liked enough to stitch it. The garden was really cute and really pretty. That's by Stitchin' Mommy. The one that everybody was doing this year that was like the circle that got progressively bigger with the weird little shapes, I wasn't about it. I wasn't totally in love with any of these ideas or these designs to commit to a project like this. However, I was watching Stitchin' Mommy's video this week, and she changed all that. So she released this pattern, and this is just a black and white of the cover. Temperature balloons. They are hot air balloons. And she has insanely creatively, it's mind-blowing to me, organized this so that, and this is just a sample with generic shades. The color version, they're in shades of brown, but that's really just to give you an idea of the shapes of each of these, and also to showcase like where a month begins and ends. So January up here starts up here, and it starts with the light and goes all the way to the dark, and so each section is a different day of the month. This is genius and mathy and also like perfect for a design that's going to be this kind of colorful and arguably, because Virginia, random. I think that this just lends itself so well to this concept. So I'm down for it, and I'm gonna stitch this. I'm really excited. And Sarah has also designed it in a way that those of us who are doing no new starts for either the first half or the whole year or whatever, you can totally put a stitch in this, because there's the baskets of the balloons and the clouds, which are totally on their own. They're totally separate from the temperature sort of thing. I've yet to decide if I'm going to do here, locally where I am, or Blacksburg. Blacksburg might be fun because it's kind of nestled in the mountains, and so their weather is crazy. You can experience all 4 seasons in one day in Blacksburg. So, and I can attest to that. There was a day when I was in school where I had to wear my snow boots to class in the morning, and by the afternoon I was wearing a tank top because it was hot. It was bizarre. Anyway, so there's that. And I'm excited. This is going to be one of my new starts here at the end of the year. So now we'll switch over to the fabric, and I'm going to do fabrics of the month first. So the first fabric that I got was Under the Sea Fabrics, and this is 32 count Belfast in Incoming Storm. And this is a gorgeous blue with some grays to it. Yeah, I like this a lot. It's moody, and it's not super wild. Yeah, I like this. It's good. So there is that one. And then I got in the mail yesterday Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. Both of these are November's fabrics, by the way. For this pattern, Stitchin' Mommy recommends a blue background because the clouds are in white, and so go figure. And so at first I was thinking Incoming Storm, but it was a little dark. And then I got this from Hand-Dyed by Stephanie, and this is in Snowdrifts. Again, 32 count Belfast. And it's a really soft blue, pale blue. So this is going to be my temperature garden, or such a habit of calling it a temperature garden. My temperature balloons are going on this fabric here. Oh, one thing I did want to mention about the temperature balloons. If you saw that and you're like, ooh, I really like that. If you're watching this within a week of me putting it out, of me putting this video up, then you need to go watch Stitchin' Mommy's video. I will link it in the description box below. I won't say anything, but if you are really interested in this, but because it's Christmas, you can't buy anything for yourself, I would check out that video. So, just something to keep in mind. Anyway, so snowdrifts, that's going to be my fabric for that. Oh, and the other thing about that, these other things, I'm going to work on my temperature balloons in those bonus days each month. And I'm just going to play catch up for the whole month at that point. So I'm going to keep a record of the highs for whichever location I choose, and then I'll just stitch all of the previous month or so in those final days of each month, because I won't be able to commit to doing it each and every day, but I can play catch up. So, and each of the segments is real small, so it'll be easy. Okay. Next, I talked to you guys about the fact that one of the projects I was considering starting, and I'm no longer going to, was Crossword by Long Dog Samplers. So I went and picked up some 32 count Belfast in white. I really wanted to check out this fabric. It's Zweigart linen, but packaged in an artiste package. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but if they're going to start offering some more Zweigart linens, and that's the way to do it, then I'm all for it, because I have always loved getting Zweigart linens from there. It's really the only reason that I go there. And this is indeed a Zweigart linen, and I was really excited about it. Oh, it's just such a weird cut. Like, why doesn't it include that orange strip selvage? I don't know, but it's good linen. So I was going to put Crossword on this, but I think I'm going to hold off on Crossword until next fall or next winter, after I get my other Long Dog done. So there's that. Now, here's something I'm really excited about. See, I was on Instagram over the weekend, and no, maybe over the weekend. Something like that. Either just before the weekend or the weekend itself. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, so Lisa, the Modern Stitcher, on Instagram, was doing a fabric de-stash, and it was a sight to be seen. She was listing some beautiful fabrics, and it took everything in me not to please everything. But it is Christmas. I can't be buying things for myself, even though I bought a thing for myself. But I can't be buying things unnecessarily. And I have talked to you guys about my shortage of neutrals. And this popped up, and I knew precisely what I was buying it for. So this is 28 count cashel linen. It's going to turn me blue, that's fine. Cashel linen in Amber Waves by Silk Weaver. And it's this like deep honey yellow. And do you know what this is for? This is for Emma. This is for With My Needle. So I talked to you guys that I wasn't totally in love with Gaia, and some other people kind of echoed like, it's really not the right fabric for that, and like I'm totally with you there. This is perfection. Now you guys know me, I justify everything. So when we went to the New Jersey retreat in May, I took a pile of things that I wanted to find fabrics for. We're at Needleworkers Delight. We're at Silk Weaver, and they were willing to dye up, custom dye up, anything we wanted. Did I get any fabric? You guys already know. No, I did not. So I took a whole host of things that I was going to try to find fabrics for. I had it all there in front of me so I could touch and feel and see the colors in real life. One of those things was Emma with my needle. Part of the reason is that I wanted to bring Emma to the retreat, Stitch M. I wanted to bring her to the retreat, in a weird little way. So she went in my suitcase. But also I wanted to find fabric for that. And this is a silk weaver fabric. So obviously I didn't get anything while I was there, but it just came a little bit late. So that's what it's going on. Now this is a 28 count linen, so it's going to be huge, which is fine. It will fit on this, which is good, and I'm excited. Amber Waves, bringing it closer doesn't really help the color show up. It's richer than that. It's like gold, and I'm excited. So I'm ready to start Emma. So that is it for the purchases this go around. Like I said, I've got my first in my Animal Pile Quartet and that fabric for Give Thanks on the way. And so I should have those next week. 1, 2, 3 stitches running a little bit slow, but that's to be expected. It's Christmas time. But that's fine. I don't need any of that right now. I have a few things I could potentially start on Sunday. So that is going to pretty much conclude today's video. I just want to say thank you everybody so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me, my channel, and all of this stuff. So with that, I will bid you all adieu. I will see you this time next week, thereabouts. And happy stitching. As always, be kind.